What's up everyone, it's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and I know what you're thinking. Usually, when you see that wall and a shaky cam, you know what time it is. You know that usually means it's unboxing time. But, now you see the wall and a steady camera. Does that mean he finally got a tripod? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that, because if I've got one hand here and one hand here and it's still steady, then it must be. So that's right, I decided I would test out my brand new tripod with a little bit of a strange video. What I'm going to go through here is that you guys know I'm a big fan of going to things like Comic-Con and just all sorts of conventions and stuff like that. And during all these crazy trips, and we call them little outings, I run into famous people, guests, and I meet them, we have a little chat, we have a little talk, and you know, we get a photo, whatever it is. And I like to personally, let's call it a memento, I have a pretty decent autograph collection. And what I'm going to do in this video is we're going to go through that. I know this video won't be for everyone, but whatever, I'll put it out there. So let's see, let's get going. This is in no particular order, except for the very last item. But we'll get to that later, and we'll get to why that's the very last one. So until then, let's get started. First up, we'll start off with our Futurama. This one signed by Billy West, aka the voice of Fry, the voice of Zoidberg, the voice of, well, half of Futurama, because he's just so goddamn talented. And not only that, did he sign it to me, he put on "Shut up and take my money." And even better, he said it in character while he was signing it. Great times from Dublin Comic-Con. Next up, we've got another one from, this is a more recent one. Unfortunately, the last year they ever held this convention in 2016, because they won't be returning for 2017, unfortunately. This one is mostly an anime and gaming con from here in Ireland. It's called Erticon. Unfortunately, it's not on anymore. And during that time, I got a chance to meet multiple guests, but this particular one we're going to look at is Dragon Half. You can see the signature on the bottom right just there. It's a little bit awkward to see on this particular one, but this one is signed by John Swayze, a prolific anime and game voice actor. For me, I know him from Dragon Half. Even though it's a smaller role, this one holds a bit more significance to me. But most people will know him as, say, Salvador from Borderlands, among other things, but that's one of his more notable roles. Next up, we've got another souvenir, if we will, from one of the years of Dublin Comic-Con. This one being some Star Trek Next Generation. Now this one is personally signed by Gates Mcfadden. Of course, Gates Mcfadden being Beverly Crusher from the Next Generation, and naturally it only felt appropriate to get her to sign the one with her face on it. Next up is another one from a previous year, again of Erticon from this one, the anime and game focused convention. This one is by Caitlin Glass. Many of you will probably know her from many of her roles, but she's probably most famous as the one we're about to take a quick look at here. And that would be Winry Rockbell from Full Metal Alchemist. Naturally, it's only fitting that I got her to sign the one with Winry all over the front of it. Keeping with the same convention, Erticon, albeit a different year in this case, we're going to go with this lovely beauty right here. And of course, I'm sure many of you know out there already, this is obviously Bleach, signed by Michelle Ruff, aka the voice of Rukia. Hence why I had to bring up the second volume, because Rukia is all over the cover. Sticking with the same convention yet again, this one back in the same year that Caitlin Glass was there, but there was another guest at the same time, and for that I got him to sign me one of these. And this would be Bacano. If you look at the top right hand side, top right hand corner, you'll find a nice little signature by Chuck Huber. Voice of many different things. Mainly people would know him as Android 17 from Dragon Ball Z, and Xiii from Yu Yu Hakusho. Now we're back to Dublin Comic-Con from a different year again this time, and up next we have something excellent, if you ask me, because it's one of the greatest films of all time, and we have The Terminator. Obviously it's not as good as The Terminator 2 being the best film of all time, if you ask me, or at least my personal favourite, but this one we have signed by Michael Biehn, aka Kyle Reese, aka, you could really call him the main character, despite Arnie and The Terminator being the focus of, well, the name of the film. Now we're up to Dublin Comic-Con of this year, 2017, for this one, and once again we're back with Star Trek The Next Generation. This time we have Marina Sirtis, aka Deanna Troi, and naturally it was only fitting that I had to bring up the season that she was featured prominently on the front of the box art. And we'll stick again with Dublin Comic-Con of 2016, and hopefully I can get the pronunciation on this one down correctly. And if I remember correct, this is Joe Pantoliano. Pantoliano? I don't know, my Italian is pretty off, but you will remember him as Cypher from The Matrix mostly. Now obviously he has other roles in there too, and of course I have DVD and, believe it or not, Ultimate HD DVD collection of The Matrix, but I thought it was only fitting to bring up my first version of The Matrix, the collector's edition VHS box. A little bit unique-ish. Now we're going to look at Mcm Comic-Con, which is another type we have here. The main ones we have are Dublin Comic-Con and Mcm Comic-Con. This one here was a free print that was included with any autograph, so it felt very appropriate to get one of these. This one won't stand up by itself, so we have Final Fantasy XIII print of Lightning, of course, signed by Ali Hillis, aka Lightning herself. Sticking with Mcm Comic-Con, but this one spanning 2 different years, we have Final Fantasy XIII. And there you'll see a nice big prominent signature in the center, to me from Ali Hillis, aka Lightning, and it's a little bit awkward to see with the light, but along here, signature from Troi Baker, aka Snow. Now let's switch gears for a second, go back to Erdcon from one of the previous years as well, and we have Catherine. If you look at the bottom, signed by Michelle Ruff, voice actress of that Catherine we see in front of us. The nice thing about this one is that it actually features a dual sleeve. So if by any other chance I do manage to somehow meet Laura Bailey, I can get her to sign this side of it. Moving back to another year of Mcm Comic-Con, and we have our Mass Effect Collector's Edition. As you'll see in the top left, signed by Ali Hillis, the voice of Lightning from Final Fantasy XIII we've covered already, and the voice of Liara T'Soni from the Mass Effect series. Next up is one of my big personal favourites in this collection, one of the first few I ever got, signature wise at least anyway. We have the collector's edition of Batman Arkham City. Obviously the big box is upstairs with the statue, but in this we have a signature by Kevin Conroy, aka Batman. Not just Batman from Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, but he's the Batman that I grew up with from Batman the Animated Series. Little bit of a side note for that one, because that was one of my first conventions, I didn't realize you could actually bring up multiple items to get signed, so I didn't get a chance to bring up my DVDs of the animated series or Mask of the Phantasm. Now next up we've got one that spans 2 different conventions in 2 different years with Bioshock Infinite. Now if you look down the bottom, it's signed by Courtney Drapier. Courtney Drapier, of course, being Elizabeth. And then up the top, along here, we have Troy Baker, aka Booker. Originally got Courtney Drapier a few years ago, when she first came to Ireland. And then just a few months ago, added Troy Baker to that list. Now we're going back again to another MCM Comic-Con, one we've already covered. And once again, this time we have Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. Again, Ali Hillis for Lightning. Now we have another one here that's going to span 2 different conventions from 2 different years, as again, one from MCM Comic-Con one year and another from Erticon. That's right, the fan favorite Persona 3 FES. So down the bottom right, you've got Michelle Ruff from the English voice cast, and uniquely, in the top, at the center, we have Tara Platt. And I personally love the dedication she put onto this one. To read it out, it's to the random, tall, handsome, blonde Irish gentleman, Tara Platt. Excellent. Fun fact, for the Persona 3 FES, I originally had this completely fully sealed. I actually opened it to get these signatures. Now continuing on, this time back to another MCM Comic-Con, we have Final Fantasy XIII 2, of course, bottom right corner, Ali Hillis, Lightning. While not featured as prominently in this game as the other 2, it still felt appropriate. And this one spread out on MCM Comic-Con for 2 separate years. We have The Last of Us on PlayStation 3, Ellie Edition. And if you look down the bottom, just under the title, you'll see Nolan North, aka David. If you haven't played the game, I won't spoil it by saying who David is. And at the top, we have Troy Baker. Now all I need is just to get Ashley Johnson somehow to Ireland to get our lovely signature all the way down there, complete the trifecta. Now if you're regulars here, you know my extreme high praise for this game, so getting not just one of the voice actors, but 2 of them to sign this was a pretty big deal for me. Persona 4 Golden on the Vita. Down the very bottom, we've got Yuri Lowenthal, aka Yusuke. There in the center, we've got Troy Baker, aka Kanji. Let's zoom out a bit so you can... There we have it, a much better look at the Yusuke Yuri Lowenthal autograph at the bottom. And sticking with one of the same, we also have Tales of the Abyss on 3DS. Signed by Ash and aka Luke, Yuri Lowenthal. With a nice little custom message that he decided to put on there. Now let's change it up real quick and we'll move over to Erticon one of these years. And we have Tales of Vesperia, The First Strike. Released many years later as an anime prequel OVA. This one signed by Lucy Christian on the right hand side. Now, Lucy voices Rita Mordio, who only has a minor role in this, but she is a major character of the game and one of my favourites from the game. A great character, so naturally I had to get her to sign this one. And for this one, we have something akin to the love of one of the games we've already looked at. The first volume Blu-ray of Persona 4, the animation. Signed by Yusuke, as the same with the game, Yuri Lowenthal. And I absolutely love the message he left me. So Stephen, critical hitting and ads. critical attitudinads. Next up, we've got one spanning many years and 2 different conventions. We have one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time, Aliens. Signed by Michael Biehn, right on the front. And I know I said this one crossed multiple years with multiple different conventions, which is correct, because if you guys remember Sergeant Apone from the film, I got a nice little signature from him on the inside. Assholes and elbows. Only a handful more to go, we're almost there. This is one again from one of the first ever conventions I ever was at. And we have Ghostbusters. Signed straight across the center to Steve, keep bustin', Ernie Hudson. This is actually where I learned that in America, apparently they can spell Steve 2 different ways. Jumping forward in time here, we have from one of my more recent ones, Full Metal Alchemist. Vic Mignogna, straight across the center, Edward Elric. Absolutely raging because when I met Vic Mignogna earlier this year, I forgot my copy of Persona 3 FES. Obviously, he's one of the main characters in that. And yeah, that kind of killed me. Hopefully he comes back. 4 more to go. This time we're looking back at a guest we've already seen from one of the previous years. Attack on Titan, signed by Caitlin Glass. She voices Petra from Levi's Squad. And we all know what happens there. Now this is going to be a nice strange one for some people. That's right. HD DVD. We have Mallrats and a signature going across the right hand side from Michael Rooker. You can see him down in the bottom right corner there, munching on his chocolate covered pretzels. Next up we got one of the voices of my childhood, hence why this is a nice old item. Yes, that's why it's a VHS. And if you look right at the top, well, in the center, signature of Veronica Taylor, aka Ash, from the first 8 seasons and first several movies of Pokemon. And for everyone who attended her convention that year, this year actually, we got a custom made trainer card for Team Taylor. Now I know I was saving a special one till last, and we're actually at that one now. I want to give a tiny little bit of story just before I do. This happened to be the very first convention I ever attended. And through a miraculous guest cancellation and then new guest signing is how I managed to get this. So we have Cowboy Bebop. And if this would be nice and focused for me. Yes. There we go, much better. So we have, the reason why this is so special, signed by my personal favorite male voice actor, Steve Bloom, for possibly my favorite anime ever. It's basically tied at 50-50, but it's definitely one of the two. And it's signed to Steven, see you, Space Cowboy. Bang. And that is why it's the cream of my collection, the cream of the crop, the pinnacle of my collection, my own top personal favorite. So that's absolutely everything in my autograph collection. Let me know in the comments section below if you have any hobbies like this that you love that may play a big part in your life or just your experiences, whatever it is, in the comments section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.